both knees on the ground, stayed low at first, started getting pushed, started getting wild. The suspect grabbing a headlock at one point, which is very common out of desperation. So the officer stayed low, stayed calm, control, eventually started pushing up, making some distance. The officer used a few distraction strikes from here to get the suspect to keep his hands up. At this point, they were controlling. The guy almost got up on his elbow one time. He recovered with good hip pressure, came back, re-achieved the mount, and then finally, the suspect was so out of control, officer pulled his taser out, drive stun. Now, suspect went even crazier for a while, then he calmed down a little bit, control, stabilizing control. Finally, about a minute, backup arrived, they were still in the mount. And the reason why we felt it was so important to discuss this situation was because what would have happened, and let's speculate a little bit about similar situations when an officer did not have the ground control tactics in a situation like this.
Of course. Let's show them.
Yeah, well, so let's say officer takes someone down, is just grabbing. First of all, they know nothing about mount. They're grabbing, they're tugging on an arm, they get grabbed, they get thrown over this way. Boom, the person comes up, person ends up on the bottom. Now you have a suspect on the bottom. Sorry, suspect on top, officer on the bottom.
On top,
punches are happening, no backup there except
weapon.
Yes, your weapons are accessible. So, and what happens is this, we've done previous breakdowns where because the officer did not have the resources to maintain control and they fall off, the situation becomes deadly force. Boom, and then they have to shoot from here. Boom, boom, boom. So it turns into deadly force because of the lack of training. And we always say this, an officer without options is an accident waiting to happen. Because if you don't have any intermediate force options or hands-on tactics on the ground where the fight inevitably goes, then you're more likely to resort to deadly force prematurely. And that's the biggest problem.
Not gonna pop! Oh!
So now let's talk about some of the things we discussed this week at our GSC program here with these instructors. Regarding mount control, regarding mount concept. So if you don't is down, the first rule, if you're going to engage in control, now of course you can always disengage, draw, taser, whatever you want, but if you feel inclined to stay in this grapple because you feel that if you get up, they're going to get up and attack you, so then you might opt to stay into the ground fight with the mount position like we saw in Las Vegas. Rule number one, the bigger the suspect, the lower you must be. Because if you sit up too high against a much larger attacker and you're striking or grabbing, you're very tippable, right? The taller you are, the tippable you are, the more tippable. So my number one concern is get low, pressure, and control. Push me to the side. Look at the hips. I'm connected at the hips. My hips and my legs are anchored on to my suspect here. Hip pressure the whole time. As soon as you neutralize their escape, then you have to begin worrying about the possibility of your weapon being accessed. Look, so he may go. Guess where I go? Elbow to elbow. Grab the weapon, please. Nice. Grab the taser. Elbow to elbow. Grab either weapon, please. Can't. So we're going to walk north, you guys. As his hand goes to the weapon, we're going to underhook, elbow to elbow, inchworm. Look, all the way north. North of the shoulder, inside the elbow. If he goes on the other side,